I was sitting at the kitchen table, absently stirring the last spoonful of my morning coffee, when my phone buzzed with a message from Aunt Clara. The screen lit up with her name, and as I read her words, a sudden flutter of excitement stirred inside me. "Guess who's coming for a surprise visit tomorrow? Your cousin Lily," she wrote, the exclamation point practically jumping off the screen. I blinked in disbelief, my heart quickening at the unexpected news. Lily. It had been years since I'd seen her, longer than I cared to admit. When we were kids, we were inseparable, partners in crime and confidants in all things silly and serious. I remembered summer afternoons spent climbing trees and evenings whispering secrets under the stars during family barbecues. But as time stretched and life pulled us in different directions, those memories had gathered dust in the back of my mind, treasured but distant. Now, the prospect of reconnecting filled me with a nervous anticipation I hadn't expected to feel. I leaned back in my chair, imagining Lily stepping off the bus, her familiar grin lighting up her face. Would she still have that mischievous sparkle in her eyes? Would the years apart have made us strangers, or would the bond we once shared still be strong beneath the surface? A warm hope blossomed within me, mingling with a gentle nervousness. This visit wasn't just a family reunion, it felt like an opportunity to rediscover a piece of myself that had been left behind. The afternoon sun filtered through the window, casting soft patterns across the worn wooden floor. The house felt quieter than usual, as if it too was holding its breath in anticipation of tomorrow's arrival. I found myself tidying up absent-mindedly, straightening cushions and dusting shelves, each small task echoing the excitement simmering in my chest. The familiar scent of vanilla from the candles I'd lit mixed with the faint aroma of blooming jasmine outside, creating a comforting atmosphere that seemed to welcome new beginnings. I pulled out an old photo album from the bookshelf, the leather cover cracked and worn from years of handling. Sitting cross-legged on the floor, I flipped through pages filled with snapshots of shared birthdays, holiday gatherings, and candid moments frozen in time. There we were, two kids laughing with the reckless joy only cousins could share, our faces glowing with innocence and mischief. The pictures told stories I had almost forgotten, our late-night hideouts, secret handshakes, and the promises we made to always be there for each other. As I traced the edges of a particularly faded photo, I felt a sudden rush of warmth. Maybe this visit would be the start of creating new memories to add to the album, fresh chapters to balance the ones that had grown quiet over the years. I closed the book gently, a smile tugging at my lips. There was something magical about the idea of reconnecting, of bridging the gap that time had carved between us. That evening, as twilight deepened and the sky softened to hues of pink and lavender, I found myself wandering through the house with a sense of quiet excitement. I imagined Lily's laughter echoing through the rooms, the way her voice used to fill the space with light and energy. I pictured us sitting together on the porch, catching up on everything we'd missed, the small triumphs, the setbacks, the dreams that had changed or stayed the same. I thought about the stories we would share, the jokes only cousins could understand, the comfortable silences that spoke volumes. The thought made my chest feel lighter, as if the weight of years had lifted just a little. Tomorrow wasn't just about welcoming Lily back, it was about welcoming the possibility of renewed friendship, of laughter and understanding rekindled. Sleep came slowly that night, my mind dancing between memories and hopes. I dreamed of old adventures and new beginnings, of a day filled with warmth and laughter that would remind me why family ties were so precious. When morning light finally slipped through the curtains, it carried with it a sense of promise, a whisper of the joy that awaited. As I got ready for the day, I caught my reflection in the mirror and saw the flicker of excitement in my eyes. This visit felt like a gift, a chance to reconnect not only with Lily but with a part of myself I hadn't realized I missed. The anticipation thrummed beneath the surface, steady and bright, as I made a silent promise to cherish every moment of the day to come. The hours stretched ahead, full of potential and possibility. I knew that whatever tomorrow held, it would be a day marked by warmth, laughter, and the gentle rekindling of a family bond that distance and time had never truly broken. And as I stepped outside, the air crisp and fresh with the promise of spring, I felt ready to welcome Lily back into my life, and to be welcomed back into hers. The morning light spilled through the curtains as I sat by the window, watching the quiet street outside. The air was still, the usual hum of early activity yet to begin. My heart beat a little faster with every passing minute, the anticipation of Lily's arrival making the room feel warmer, despite the crisp spring breeze. Then, just as I had imagined the day before, the sound of footsteps echoed down the sidewalk, drawing closer until the familiar figure appeared at the gate. Lily. She looked almost the same as I remembered, with her unruly chestnut hair tied back loosely and that same mischievous glint in her eyes. Her smile, wide and genuine, was like a beacon of light cutting through the quiet morning. I opened the door before she even knocked, my arms instinctively reaching out to pull her into a hug. The world seemed to pause for a moment as we embraced, the years of distance melting away in the warmth of that simple gesture. "I can't believe you're here," I whispered, stepping back to look at her properly. She laughed, a sound that was both familiar and new, and it filled the space between us with joy. "Me neither," she replied, her eyes sparkling with the same excitement I felt. "It's been too long." We stood there for a moment, just taking in the reality of being together again. The house felt different with her presence, as if it had been waiting for this reunion all along. I led her inside, the soft creak of the wooden floor beneath our feet marking the start of what promised to be a memorable day. As we settled into the living room, Lily began sharing stories about her life since we last met, college adventures, new friendships, and the small but meaningful moments that had shaped her. I listened intently, fascinated by the glimpses into her world and eager to fill her in on my own experiences. Our conversation flowed effortlessly, the years apart bridged by laughter and shared memories. When I told her about the photo album I'd been looking through the night before, her face lit up with recognition. "I remember that day," she said, pointing to a picture of us covered in paint during a summer art project. "We were so messy, but it was the best fun." We reminisced about those carefree days, the nostalgia wrapping around us like a comforting blanket. The initial surprise of her arrival had blossomed into a deep sense of familiarity and belonging. It was as though no time had passed at all. After a while, Lily glanced at her watch and suggested, "Why don't we spend the day together? I'd love to see the neighborhood and catch up properly." The invitation filled me with a warm excitement. "Absolutely," I agreed. It's been too long since we had a day just for us. We quickly made plans, deciding to start with a walk through the nearby park, followed by a stop at the bakery we used to frequent as kids. The prospect of revisiting these familiar places with her felt like stepping into a storybook, a chance to relive cherished memories while creating new ones. Before heading out, I showed Lily around the house, pointing out the changes and sharing anecdotes about the little things that had happened in my absence. She listened with genuine interest, her laughter punctuating the tales and making the rooms feel alive. The house seemed to embrace her presence, the walls echoing with the promise of renewed connection. As we stepped outside, the sun was bright but gentle, casting golden hues over the blossoming trees lining the street. The familiar sense of fresh grass and blooming flowers mingled in the air, wrapping us in the comforting embrace of spring. We walked side by side, our conversation flowing easily as we caught up on everything we'd missed. Passing neighbors waved hello, some recognizing Lily from past visits, and their warm greetings added to the feeling of homecoming. It was as if her arrival had rekindled a thread of community, weaving us back into the fabric of familiar faces and places. At the park, we found a shaded bench beneath a large oak tree and sat down, watching children play and dogs chase frisbees. Lily pulled out a small notebook from her bag and shared some of her recent sketches, delicate drawings of flowers and landscapes that revealed a new creative side I hadn't known she had developed. I admired her talent, the way her eyes lit up as she explained the inspiration behind each piece. Our conversation drifted from art to dreams, and I found myself opening up about my own hopes and fears. There was a safety in her presence, a quiet understanding that made it easy to speak honestly. It felt like coming home after a long journey, the kind of comfort that only someone who truly knows you can provide. After the park, we wandered to the bakery, the sweet aroma of fresh bread and pastries greeting us as we entered. We ordered our favorite treats, warm cinnamon rolls and rich chocolate croissants, and found a cozy corner to sit and enjoy them. The familiar taste brought back a flood of memories, and we laughed over the stories of childhood mishaps and secret midnight snacks. As we ate, Lily suggested we stop by the old bookstore down the street. "You used to love that place," she reminded me with a grin. I nodded eagerly, feeling a surge of nostalgia. The thought of exploring the dusty shelves and hidden corners with her by my side felt like rediscovering a forgotten treasure. The bookstore was just as I remembered, its shelves overflowing with books of every kind, the scent of paper and ink hanging thick in the air. We wandered through the aisles, sharing recommendations and debating over favorite authors. Lily pulled out a worn copy of a novel we both loved as teenagers and held it up triumphantly. "This was my favorite," she said softly. "I'm glad we can still share things like this." I smiled, feeling a deep sense of connection rekindled. The day was unfolding like a tapestry woven with threads of past and present, each moment rich with meaning and warmth. As the afternoon sun began to dip, casting long shadows across the street, we made our way back home. The quiet companionship between us was a comforting presence, the kind of easy silence that speaks of trust and understanding. There was no rush, no need to fill every moment with words, just the shared joy of being together again. Back inside, Lily looked around the living room thoughtfully before turning to me. "I'm really glad you're here," she said quietly. "This feels like the start of something good." Her words settled warmly in my chest, a promise that the day's surprise had blossomed into something meaningful. The initial shock of her arrival had given way to a genuine delight, an unspoken acknowledgement that our bond was still alive and ready to grow. As we planned the rest of the evening, the house seemed to hum with a renewed energy, its walls embracing the laughter and stories we shared. The day had begun with a surprise, but it was shaping into something far more profound, a heartfelt reunion filled with warmth, familiarity, and the quiet joy of being truly seen. I realized then that this unexpected visit wasn't just a moment frozen in time, it was the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with possibilities and the promise of rediscovered family ties. And as we settled into the afternoon, I felt a deep gratitude for the chance to share this day with Lily, to laugh and talk and simply be together once more. After the bookstore visit, Lily and I found ourselves wandering through the neighborhood, the late afternoon sun warming our backs as we talked about everything and nothing all at once. There was a lightness in the air, a shared comfort that made even the simplest activities feel special. We decided to head back to my place, the thought of cooking dinner together sparking a new kind of excitement between us. In the kitchen, the familiar clatter of pots and pans filled the space as we unpacked ingredients. Lily pulled out a recipe she'd recently discovered, a vibrant pasta dish with fresh herbs and lemon zest. I was happy to let her take the lead, watching with a smile as she chopped and stirred with focused enthusiasm. The kitchen soon smelled of garlic and basil, the flavors mingling as easily as our conversation. We worked side by side, occasionally bumping elbows or exchanging playful glances. The ease between us was a welcome surprise, as though no time had passed since we last shared a meal. I found myself laughing more than I had in weeks, buoyed by Lily's infectious energy and light-hearted teasing. As the pasta simmered, we moved to the living room, where we pulled out an old board game from the shelf, a relic from our childhood that had somehow survived countless moves and cleanouts. Settling on the floor with the game spread out before us, we dove into friendly competition. The rules came back quickly, and soon we were teasing each other over missed moves and lucky rolls, the game turning into a lively dance of laughter and good-natured rivalry. Between turns, Lily shared stories from her recent travels, a spontaneous trip to a coastal town, a quirky cafe where she'd met an eccentric artist, the unexpected kindness of strangers. Each tale was told with vivid detail, her expressive hands painting pictures that made me feel as if I'd been there alongside her. I reciprocated with my own stories, from the mundane to the memorable, feeling the layers of time and distance peel away with every shared moment. The game ended, but our conversation didn't. We lingered in the cozy glow of the room, the soft light casting gentle shadows as we talked about hopes and fears, the dreams we'd chased and the ones still waiting on the horizon. There was a newfound depth to our connection, a sense of discovery that went beyond nostalgia. Later, we decided to take a stroll around the block before nightfall. The neighborhood was quiet, the street lamps flickering on one by one as the sky shifted into twilight. Walking side by side, we pointed out changes and landmarks, newly painted fences, a garden bursting with tulips, the old playground where we'd once raced and played. The familiar streets held a different kind of magic now, colored by the joy of shared experience and renewed friendship. At one point, Lily paused to pick a few wildflowers growing beside the sidewalk, pressing them carefully between the pages of a small notebook she carried. She handed the notebook to me with a shy smile. "I want to remember today," she said softly. "Not just the big moments, but the small ones, too." I nodded, touched by the sentiment. "Me too," I replied. "It's like we're starting fresh, but still holding on to everything that made us who we are." Back at my place, we settled into the kitchen to prepare a simple dessert, warm apple crisp with vanilla ice cream. The act of baking together felt intimate, the shared task weaving us closer as we peeled, sliced, and stirred. The scent of cinnamon and baked apples filled the room, wrapping us in a cozy embrace. We ate the dessert slowly, savoring each bite and the quiet happiness that came with it. Our conversation drifted to childhood memories, the mischievous pranks we'd pulled, the secret hiding spots and endless games. Lily laughed as she recalled how we'd once tried to build a treehouse, only to have it collapse spectacularly. I remembered the scraped knees and triumphant grins, the way those moments had cemented our bond. As the evening deepened, the world outside grew still, the only sounds the soft ticking of the clock and our voices mingling in the gentle space between us. There was a sense of belonging that settled over me, a feeling that this day had rekindled something precious and rare. We talked about the future, plans to visit each other more often, to share holidays and milestones, to keep the spark of connection alive. The awkwardness that sometimes comes with time apart had vanished, replaced by a genuine eagerness to nurture the relationship we'd rediscovered. At one point, Lily reached across the table, her hand resting lightly on mine. The gesture was simple, but it spoke volumes, a promise of support, trust, and the enduring strength of family. I squeezed her hand gently, grateful for the warmth and reassurance it brought. Later, we moved to the couch with mugs of tea, the steam swirling between us as we settled into a comfortable silence. The day's adventures played back in my mind like a favorite movie, each scene a testament to the joy of reconnecting. I felt lighter, more hopeful, as if the simple act of spending time together had breathed new life into a part of me I hadn't realized was dormant. As the night wore on, we shared stories that revealed new layers of who we were, dreams deferred, challenges overcome, lessons learned. The vulnerability between us deepened the bond, transforming the day's lighthearted fun into something richer and more meaningful. I glanced at Lily and saw the same reflection in her eyes, that mixture of contentment and anticipation that comes from rediscovering a cherished relationship. We had begun the day as cousins separated by time and distance, but now we were something more, friends, confidants, kindred spirits ready to face whatever came next together. The hours slipped by unnoticed until the soft ticking of the clock reminded me how late it had become. Yet, neither of us seemed eager to end the evening. The day had been a gift, a collection of shared moments that felt both timeless and new. It was a reminder that sometimes, the simplest pleasures, laughter, stories, a shared meal, could heal the spaces time had carved between us. As I looked around the room, filled with the quiet comfort of renewed connection, I knew this was only the beginning. The day had been filled with adventures both big and small, each one strengthening the thread that bound us. And in that moment, I felt a deep gratitude for the chance to rediscover not just my cousin, but a part of myself reflected in her smile. As the evening deepened, the soft glow of the lamps cast a gentle warmth across the living room. Lily and I found ourselves curled up on the couch, wrapped in a shared blanket that smelled faintly of lavender and old cotton. The day's laughter had softened into a calm, comfortable quiet, the kind that only comes with true companionship. Outside, the night was still, the occasional rustle of leaves and distant calls of night birds creating a gentle soundtrack to our reflections. We began to reminisce about our childhood with a tenderness that felt almost sacred. Lily's voice was soft as she recounted the little things, the secret codes we'd invented, the summer evenings chasing fireflies, the way we used to confide in each other without hesitation. Her stories breathed life into memories I'd tucked away, and with each one, the distance between us seemed to shrink even more. "I've missed this," she confessed quietly, her eyes meeting mine with a vulnerability that caught me off guard. Not just the memories, but the feeling of being understood without having to explain everything. I nodded, feeling the same. It's like we picked up exactly where we left off, but better somehow. We've grown, but the connection is still here, stronger maybe. She smiled, a slow, genuine curve of her lips that reached her eyes. I think that's what family is, more than just blood, it's about being there for each other, no matter what. Her words settled in the room like a gentle affirmation, filling the space between us with a sense of belonging. It wasn't just the warmth of the blanket or the cozy room, it was the feeling of safety, acceptance, and trust that only comes from deep understanding. As we continued talking, Lily's thoughtful nature shone through in small gestures. She reached over to adjust the blanket when she noticed I was shivering slightly, and she offered me her tea when I hesitated to ask for a refill. Those simple acts felt profound in their kindness, weaving a quiet tapestry of care that made me feel cherished. We shared our hopes for the future, speaking of plans and dreams with a newfound confidence. Lily talked about her desire to travel more, to pursue her art with greater dedication, and to stay connected with the people who mattered most. I shared my own aspirations, the things I'd been too cautious to say aloud before. The openness between us was invigorating, a balm to the fears and uncertainties that often cloud life's path. The night stretched on, the clock ticking softly but unnoticed. At some point, Lily looked at me with a gentle seriousness and said, "I think I'll stay here tonight, if that's okay." Her request felt natural, a quiet extension of the trust that had blossomed throughout the day. I nodded without hesitation, grateful for the chance to spend more time with her, to deepen the bond that was growing between us. "I'd like that," I replied, smiling warmly. "There's plenty of room, and it feels right." We prepared the guest room together, folding back crisp sheets and fluffing pillows. The simple act of creating a space for her to rest felt symbolic, a place where she was not just a visitor but a part of this home, this life. I showed her the bathroom and left the door open, a silent invitation that spoke volumes. Later, as I lay in my own bed, I could hear the faint sounds of her moving about, quiet footsteps, the rustle of fabric, and it brought me a comforting sense of closeness. The day's events played softly in my mind, a montage of laughter, stories, and the gentle unfolding of a renewed connection. The next morning arrived wrapped in soft light and fresh promise. I woke to the smell of something sweet and savory drifting through the hallway, and as I followed the scent, I found Lily bustling in the kitchen, a concentration etched on her face as she flipped pancakes and scrambled eggs. The sight was heartwarming, her presence filling the space with life and care. "Good morning," she said cheerfully, turning to greet me with that same radiant smile. "I thought I'd make breakfast. It's a small way to say thanks for welcoming me." I felt a surge of gratitude and warmth, touched by her thoughtfulness. We sat down at the table, the aroma of food mingling with the morning light streaming through the window. The meal was simple but made special by the company and the shared memories we began to weave anew. Over breakfast, we talked about the day ahead, the plans we wanted to make and the moments we hoped to savor. The easy flow of conversation reminded me how natural it felt to be with her, how much I looked forward to the time we'd spend together. Lily's laughter filled the kitchen as we debated who had won our board game from the night before, the playful teasing rekindling the light-hearted spirit that had carried us through the day. It was a reminder that amidst the depths of connection, joy and fun were equally important. As the morning sun climbed higher, the house seemed to glow with the energy of renewed family ties. I felt a deep sense of contentment and hope, knowing that this visit was more than a passing moment, it was a foundation for the future. Lily's presence was a balm to my soul, her kindness and easygoing nature a perfect complement to the quiet strength I found in myself. Together, we had turned an ordinary day into a cherished memory, one that would linger in the heart long after she left. And as we planned the hours to come, I knew that the day was just beginning, filled with possibilities for laughter, shared stories, and the comforting certainty of family reunited. Morning light spilled gently through the curtains, painting the room in soft hues of gold and silver. I lay still for a moment, listening to the quiet sounds of the house waking up, the faint creak of floorboards, the distant chirping of birds outside the window. The night had brought a peaceful rest, wrapped in the comforting presence of Lily nearby. I felt a calm warmth in my chest, a quiet gratitude for the unexpected gift of her visit. Downstairs, the scent of freshly brewed coffee and something sweet pulled me from the bed. I slipped into my slippers and made my way to the kitchen, where Lily was humming softly as she arranged plates of pancakes and scrambled eggs on the table. Her eyes lit up when she saw me, the same familiar warmth radiating from her smile. "Good morning," she greeted, setting a plate in front of me. "I thought we could start the day with breakfast together." I sank into the chair, the simple joy of sharing this meal with her wrapping around me like a gentle embrace. There was something profoundly comforting about the quiet intimacy of the moment, the clinking of cutlery, the soft murmur of conversation, and the feeling that this was more than just breakfast. It was a celebration of connection, of family bonds rekindled. We ate slowly, savoring the food but more so the company. Our conversation meandered easily, touching on plans for the coming weeks, the little details of daily life, and the dreams we'd shared the night before. There was laughter too, light and spontaneous, as we playfully debated who had truly won our board game from the previous evening. "I think you cheated," Lily teased, grinning mischievously. "Oh, please," I shot back, laughing. "I was just lucky, that's all." The playful banter reminded me how much I had missed this, the easy companionship, the shared history, and the promise of more moments like this to come. It felt like a fresh start, a chance to nurture the relationship that had been quietly waiting to bloom again. After breakfast, we lingered at the table, reluctant to let the morning slip away too quickly. Lily reached across and squeezed my hand, a silent promise that this was not a fleeting visit but the beginning of something lasting. I felt the truth of those words settle deep within me, a warmth that carried hope and happiness. We talked about staying in closer touch, making plans for future visits and shared holidays. The idea of weaving our lives together again, piece by piece, filled me with a quiet excitement. It wasn't just about catching up, it was about building a new foundation, stronger and more meaningful than before. As the morning sun climbed higher, filtering through the window and casting dancing shadows on the floor, I realized how much I had needed this reconnection, this laughter, this gentle unfolding of family ties. Lily's presence was a balm, a reminder that no matter how far life pulls us apart, there are threads that never break. Before she left that day, we stood in the doorway, the soft breeze stirring the edges of her scarf. We hugged tightly, the kind of embrace that spoke of gratitude, trust, and an unspoken promise to hold on to this renewed bond. "Thank you for everything," Lily whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "No, thank you," I replied, feeling tears prick at my eyes. "For coming back, for staying." As she walked down the path and disappeared from sight, I stood there for a moment longer, breathing in the quiet peace that followed. The day had been a gift, unexpected, heartwarming, and filled with the kind of joy that lingers long after the moment has passed. I closed the door gently and turned back inside, carrying with me a sense of hope and happiness that would sustain me until we met again. The memories we'd made, the laughter we'd shared, and the bonds we'd rekindled were treasures I would hold close, a new chapter unfolding with every heartbeat. And as the afternoon sun bathed the house in warmth, I knew that this was not an ending but a beginning, a fresh start for our relationship, one filled with promise, love, and the quiet certainty that family, no matter the distance or time, always finds its way home. If you loved the story, like the video and subscribe.